Jack Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he worked on the alien device. The metal was cold under his fingers, but the energy inside it hummed with power. 3 years ago, he had been a commander in the Earth Navy. Now he was alone on a broken space station, trying to save humanity one piece of alien technology at a time, the space station. Helia 7 had been abandoned for 2 years. Most of its systems were dead, but Jack had managed to get life support working in the engineering section. That was all he needed. The rest of the station was dark and cold, filled with broken machines and empty corridors. But here, in his makeshift lab, Jack had everything he needed to change the war. The war had been going badly for 5 years. The Zealoty came from somewhere beyond the outer rim, bringing ships that moved faster than anything humans had ever built. Their weapons could punch through the strongest armor, and their shields could stop anything Earth threw at them. Colony after colony fell to their advance. Millions of humans died or disappeared into slavery. Jack had tried to help during his time in the Navy. He had found pieces of Zealoty technology on battlefields and brought them back to study. While other officers followed orders and watched their fleets get destroyed, Jack worked day and night to understand how the alien weapons worked. He had been close to a breakthrough when the Admiralty found out. The court-martial had been quick. They called him a traitor for working with alien technology. They said he was dangerous, that his experiments could start a war with other alien species. Jack had tried to explain that they were already in a war, one they were losing, but no one would listen. His friend Linda Hayes had spoken for him, but it did no good. They stripped him of his rank and threw him out of the Navy. That was 3 years ago. Jack had used his savings to buy a small transport ship and came out here to the frontier. He found the abandoned station and made it his home. Every day he worked on the alien technology he had managed to save from his Navy days. Every night he listened to the news from Earth and the colonies. The war was getting worse. The device in his hands was part of a Zealoty shield generator. Jack had been working on it for 6 months, trying to understand how it created such powerful barriers. Today, finally, he thought he had figured it out. The aliens used a type of energy field that humans had never discovered. It worked by creating patterns in space itself, patterns that could stop almost any attack. Casey, the station's artificial intelligence, spoke from the speakers around the room. Jack, you should eat something. You have been working for 14 hours. Not now, Casey. I'm close to something important. You said that yesterday, and the day before? Jack smiled. Casey had been the station's AI when it was still active. Most AIs would have shut down when their station was abandoned, but Casey had stayed online. Jack thought the AI was lonely, just like him. This is different, Jack said. He connected 2 parts of the device and watched as energy flowed between them. Look at this, Casey. The field is stable. I think I understand how it works. That is good news, Jack, but you still need to eat. Jack was about to argue when an alarm sounded. Not the station's alarms, which had been broken for years, but the alarm from his ship. Someone was sending a distress signal. He ran to the communication station and turned on the receiver. The signal was weak, but he could make out the words. This is New Denver Colony. We are under attack. Zealoty fleet approaching. All Earth forces, please respond. We have women and children here. Please, someone help us. Jack felt his heart sink. New Denver was a farming colony about 50 light-years from Earth. It had about 200,000 people, mostly families who had come out to the frontier to start new lives. If the Zealoty were attacking it, those people would be dead or enslaved within hours. Casey, how long would it take to reach New Denver? In your ship, about 18 hours at maximum speed. But Jack, you cannot help them. You have 1 small transport ship. The Zealoty will have a full battle fleet. Jack stared at the alien device in his hands. He had spent 3 years learning how their technology worked. He had weapons and shields that no human had ever seen before. Maybe he could not save New Denver with a transport ship, but he was not flying a normal transport ship anymore for the past year. Jack had been modifying his ship with Zealoty technology he had installed. Alien weapons in place of the cargo bay. He had replaced the human shields with a hybrid system that used both technologies. The ship looked like a simple transport from the outside, but inside it was something new. "Casey, help me move this equipment to the ship. I'm going to New Denver." "Jack, this is suicide. Even with your modifications, you cannot fight a Zealothy." "Fleet, maybe not, but I have to try." Jack began loading his equipment onto the ship. The alien shield generator went into the main cargo hold. The weapon systems he had built went into storage containers. Everything he had learned about Zealothy technology went with him as he worked. Jack thought about Linda Hayes. She was probably out there somewhere, commanding a ship in the Earth fleet. She had tried to protect him during the court-martial, and he had not spoken to her since. If he died at New Denver, she would never know that he had tried to use everything he learned to save people. The ship's computer came online as Jack finished loading. He had programmed it with everything he knew about Zealothy tactics and technology. It would help him in the fight, assuming he lived long enough to fight. "All systems ready," the computer announced. Jack took one last look around the station. This had been his home for 3 years. It was where he had learned to turn alien technology into human weapons. It was where he had prepared for this moment, even though he had not known it at the time. "Casey, thank you for everything. If I don't come back..." "You will come back, Jack. You are too stubborn to die." Jack smiled and sealed the ship's hatch. The engines came to life, and he felt the familiar vibration as the ship prepared for faster-than-light travel. Through the viewports, he could see the stars waiting for him. The journey to New Denver would take 18 hours. Jack planned to spend that time making final preparations. He would check every weapon, every shield, every system. When he arrived, he would be ready. The Zealothy had superior numbers and better technology, but Jack had something they did not expect. He had 3 years of studying their weaknesses. He had weapons they had never seen before. Most importantly, he had nothing left to lose. As the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, Jack Morrison began his journey from disgraced engineer to humanity's greatest weapon. He did not know it yet, but he was about to change the course of the war forever. The stars blurred past the viewport as Jack prepared for the fight of his life. Somewhere ahead, New Denver was waiting. Somewhere behind him, Casey was already missing his only friend. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the Zealothy fleet was about to meet something they had never encountered before, a human who refused to give up. Jack Morrison's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Denver system. What he saw through the viewport made his blood run cold. The Zealothy fleet was already there, 17 warships arranged in a perfect attack formation. Their dark hulls gleamed in the light of New Denver's sun, and their weapons were already charging. New Denver hung in space like a blue and green jewel, completely defenseless. The colony had no military ships, just a few cargo vessels and mining shuttles. On the surface, 200,000 people were about to die. Jack's communication system crackled to life. "Unknown vessel, this is Colonel Pete Williams of the New Denver Defense Force. Identify yourself immediately." "Colonel Williams, this is Jack Morrison. I received your distress call. I'm here to help." There was a long pause. When Williams spoke, again his voice was filled with anger. "Jack Morrison? The traitor who was kicked out of the Navy? What kind of help can you give us with one transport ship?" Jack understood the colonel's anger. His reputation had followed him across human space. Most people saw him as a dangerous criminal who had betrayed his own species by working with alien technology. They did not understand that he had been trying to save them. "Colonel, I know what you think of me, but right now, I'm the only help you're going to get. The Zealothy fleet will reach your planet in 30 minutes. Do you have any way to evacuate your people? We're trying, but we don't have enough ships. Maybe 10,000 people, if we're lucky, the rest." William's voice trailed off. Jack looked at his instruments. The Zealothy ships were moving into position for bombardment. Their weapons could turn New Denver cities into glass in minutes. There was no time for evacuation. "Colonel, get your people to the emergency shelters. All of them, right now." "What are you going to do?" Jack's hands moved over his ship's controls. bringing the alien weapon systems online. I'm going to buy you some time. The Iron Wolf had looked like a simple transport ship when Jack bought it 3 years ago. Now it was something else entirely. Jack had replaced the cargo bay with a Zelithy plasma cannon. The ship's hull was covered with alien armor plating. Most importantly, the shields were a hybrid of human and Zelithy technology that could do things neither species had imagined. Jack flew directly toward the Zelithy fleet. His ship was tiny compared to their warships, but he was not afraid. He had studied their tactics for 3 years. He knew exactly how they would react. The lead Zelithy ship opened fire first. Bright blue energy beams streaked toward the Iron Wolf. Any normal human ship would have been destroyed instantly. But Jack's hybrid shields did not just stop the energy beams. They absorbed them and fed the power back into his own weapons. Jack's plasma cannon fired for the first time. The energy bolt was not blue like Zelithy weapons or red like human weapons. It was pure white, brighter than a star. It struck the lead Zelithy ship and punched straight through its shields as if they were not there. The alien warship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. The other 16 ships began firing at once, filling space with deadly energy beams. Jack's ship danced between them, moving faster than anything its size should be able to move. Impossible, Jack heard over the Zelithy communication channel. He had learned their language during his studies. How can one small ship do this? Jack smiled and fired again. Another Zelithy ship died, then another. His ship's computer was tracking every enemy vessel, predicting their movements, telling him exactly when and where to shoot. The Zelithy tried to surround him, but Jack's ship was too fast. It could stop, turn, and accelerate in ways that broke every rule of physics. The alien technology he had learned to use was giving him abilities that no human pilot had ever dreamed of. On New Denver, Colonel Williams watched the battle through his telescopes. He could not believe what he was seeing. One ship was fighting 17 enemy warships and winning. The man he had called a traitor was saving his world. All units, this is Colonel Williams. Jack Morrison is engaging the enemy fleet. All civilians to emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Jack heard the transmission and felt a moment of pride. At least someone was starting to understand. But he could not think about that now. The battle was far from over. The Zelithy commander was getting desperate. Jack could hear him screaming orders to his remaining ships. They were trying new tactics, firing in patterns that should have been impossible to avoid. But Jack had studied their weapons for 3 years. He knew exactly how long each weapon took to charge and how fast their targeting systems could move. Jack's ship spun through space like a dancer, avoiding every shot while firing back with deadly accuracy. His white energy beams cut through Zelithy shields and armor as if they were paper. One by one, the alien ships died. This is impossible, the Zelithy commander broadcast. You are just one human. How can you do this? I'm not just one human, Jack replied in perfect Zelithy. I'm a human who refuses to give up. The commander's ship fired everything it had at Jack. Missiles, energy beams, and weapons that Jack had never seen before filled the space around. His ship, for a moment, it looked like the Iron Wolf would be destroyed, but Jack's shields held, more than held. They absorbed the energy from every attack and fed it back into his weapons. His next shot was brighter than anything he had fired before. It struck the commander's ship and tore it apart from the inside. Only 5 Zelithy ships remained. Their crews were panicking, trying to retreat, but Jack was too fast. He destroyed 3 more ships in quick succession. The last 2 finally managed to jump to faster-than-light travel, fleeing the system. The battle was over. In 30 minutes, Jack Morrison had destroyed 15 Zelithy warships and saved New Denver. The space around the colony was filled with the wreckage of the enemy fleet. Jack's communication system came alive with voices from the colony. Jack, this is Colonel Williams. I don't know what to say. You saved us all. Just doing my job? Colonel, your job? You're not even in the Navy anymore. Jack looked at the wreckage floating around his ship. Maybe not, but I'm still human, and humans protect each other. Other voices joined the conversation. Colonists who had been ready to die were now crying with joy. Children who had been hiding in shelters were asking their parents about the man who had saved them, but Jack knew this was just the beginning. The two ships that had escaped would report back to the Zealoty. They would tell their commanders about the human who had destroyed their fleet. They would come back with more ships, better weapons, and a burning desire for revenge. Jack also knew that Earth Command would hear about this battle. They would want to know how a disgraced ex-officer had accomplished what their entire fleet could not do. They would want his technology, his knowledge, and probably his head. Colonel Williams, I have to go. The Zealoty will be back and they'll bring friends. Start preparing your defenses. Wait, Jack, stay with us. We can protect you, Jack smiled sadly. From who, the Zealoty? Earth Command? Everyone is going to want me dead after today. But then where will you go? Somewhere I can keep working. The war isn't over, Colonel. It's just beginning. Jack's ship began moving toward the edge of the system. Behind him, New Denver was safe for now. Ahead of him lay a galaxy full of enemies who would stop at nothing to destroy him, but Jack Morrison was no longer the broken man who had been court-martialed 3 years ago. He was something new, something dangerous. He was a human who had learned to turn alien technology into a weapon that could save his species. The legend of Jack Morrison had begun. Admiral Frank Cooper sat in his command chair aboard the battleship Sovereign, reading the report from New Denver for the 3rd time. He still could not believe it. Jack Morrison, the officer he had trained and later court-martialed, had single-handedly destroyed 15 Zealoty warships. The man he had called a traitor was now being hailed as a hero across human space. Admiral, we have new orders from Earth Command. His aide announced to Cooper, took the sealed message and read it slowly. The orders were clear. Find Jack Morrison. Bring him back to Earth, dead or alive. The Admiralty wanted his technology, but they also feared what he might do with it. A man who could destroy an entire enemy fleet was too dangerous to leave running free. Sir, what are your orders? Asked Captain Linda Hayes. Knew this mission would be hard for her, but orders were orders. We hunt down Jack Morrison. The Admiralty wants him captured or killed. His technology is too dangerous to remain in the hands of a rogue officer. Linda's face went pale. Sir, with respect, Jack just saved 200,000 people. He's fighting the war that we've been losing for 5 years. Captain Hayes, Jack Morrison is a deserter and a traitor. He violated direct orders and endangered human security by working with alien technology. The fact that he won one battle doesn't change that. But Cooper was lying and he knew it. Jack had not endangered human security. He had probably saved it. The problem was that Jack's victory made the entire Earth fleet look useless. If one man in a converted transport ship could do what their entire navy could not, what did that say about their leadership? Meanwhile, in the depths of Zealoty, Space War Commander Vexthal was receiving his own orders. The two ships that had escaped from New Denver had brought disturbing news. A single human vessel had destroyed most of their attack fleet using weapons that should not exist. This human must be eliminated, the Supreme Commander's voice echoed. Through the war room. He has technology that could change the balance of power. Find him and destroy him before he can share his knowledge. Vexthal bowed his head. It will be done, Supreme Commander. I will take our fastest ships and hunt this human down. He will take more than fast ships. This human has proven he can destroy our best warships. Do not underestimate him. Check. Morrison knew nothing about the forces gathering against him. He was floating in the asteroid belt near Titan, working on his ship inside a massive piece of space rock. He had hollowed out the asteroid and turned it into a mobile workshop. Here, he could modify his ship without being detected by either side. The Iron Wolf no longer looked like a transport ship. Jack had been adding Zealoty technology for weeks, turning it into something that had never existed before. The ship was longer now, with additional weapon mounts and a more powerful engine. Most importantly, Jack had installed a cloaking device that could hide his ship from both human and Zealoty sensors. Computer, run a diagnostic on the new weapon systems, Jack ordered. All systems operational. Plasma cannon efficiency increased by 30%. Missile systems loaded with hybrid warheads. Shield generators operating at maximum capacity, Jack smiled. The ship was becoming more powerful every day. But he knew he could not hide forever. The Zalathi would come looking for him, and so would Earth Command. When they found him, he would be ready. A message came through on his communication system. It was encoded with a frequency only Earth Navy officers knew. Jack decoded it and found a message from Linda Hayes. Jack, this is Linda. I don't have much time. Admiral Cooper has orders to capture or kill you. We'll be entering the Titan system. In 6 hours, please just surrender. Let me help you. Jack stared at the message for a long time. Linda had been his closest friend in the Navy. She had tried to protect him during the court-martial. Now she was part of the fleet coming to arrest him. Computer, prepare the ship for departure. We're leaving this system. Destination? Anywhere but here, but Jack was too late. As his ship powered up, alarms began sounding throughout the asteroid. His sensors detected multiple ships entering the system. The Earth fleet had arrived, and they were not alone. Jack, this is Admiral Cooper. You are surrounded. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. Jack looked at his sensors. 12 Earth ships had entered the system from one direction, but from another direction, 16 Zalathi vessels were also approaching. Both fleets had found him at the same time. Admiral, you have bigger problems than me, Jack transmitted. Check your long-range sensors. Cooper's voice came back a moment later, filled with shock. Zalathi fleet detected. All ships, battle stations. Captain Hayes, take your squadron and engage the enemy. Sir, what about Morrison? He's not our priority anymore. Engage the Zalathi. Jack watched as the two fleets moved toward each other. The Earth ships were outnumbered, but they were fighting close to home. The Zalathi had traveled far from their territory, but their ships were more advanced. It would be a close battle. Then Jack made a decision that surprised everyone. Instead of running away, he flew his ship directly into the middle of the battle. All ships, this is Jack Morrison. I'm engaging the Zalathi fleet. Jack, no. Linda's voice came over the radio. You'll be caught in the crossfire. But Jack was already moving. His ship, invisible to most sensors, appeared suddenly among the Zalathi vessels. His white energy beams lanced out, striking two enemy ships before they could react. The battle became chaos. Earth ships fired at Zalathi vessels while trying to avoid hitting Jack. Zalathi ships tried to target Jack while defending against the Earth fleet. And Jack danced between them all, his ship moving in ways that defied physics. War Commander Vextel watched in amazement as the small human ship destroyed one of his cruisers. All ships, focus fire on that vessel. Ignore the other humans. But focusing on Jack was like trying to hit smoke. His ship would appear, fire, and vanish again before anyone could target it. Meanwhile, the Earth fleet was taking advantage of the confusion to attack the Zalathi ships. Jack's ship suddenly appeared next to Vextel's flagship. The war commander had one moment to see the human vessel before white energy tore through his ship's hull. The flagship exploded, taking Vextel with it. Without their commander, the Zalathi fleet began to retreat. Jack had killed their leader and destroyed 3 of their ships. The remaining vessels jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the asteroid belt empty except for wreckage. Admiral Cooper's voice came over the radio. Jack, this is Cooper. We need to talk. I'm listening, Admiral. What you did today, ... It saved my entire fleet. But I still have my orders. Jack's ship moved closer to the Sovereign. Through the viewport, he could see Linda on the bridge, watching him with worried eyes. Admiral, I'm not your enemy. I'm trying to save humanity from the Zalathi. Why can't? You see that? Because you're operating outside the chain of command. You're using alien technology without authorization. You're dangerous, Jack. I'm dangerous to the Zalathi. That should be enough. Cooper was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was sad. Jack, I trained you. I know you're a good man. But I have my orders. Surrender now, and I'll make sure you're treated fairly. Jack looked at the Earth fleet surrounding him. 12 ships, all with their weapons pointed at him. He could probably fight his way out, but he would have to kill human crews to do it. He would not kill his own people. I'm sorry, Admiral, I can't do that. Jack's ship suddenly accelerated, moving faster than anything the Earth fleet had ever seen. Within seconds, he was at the edge of the system. A moment later, he jumped to faster-than-light travel and vanished. Admiral Cooper stared at the empty space where Jack had been. Captain Hayes, set course for Earth. We need to report this. To the Admiralty. Sir, what will you tell them? Cooper thought about the battle he had just witnessed. Jack Morrison had saved his entire fleet from destruction, but the Admiralty would not care about that. They would only care that Jack had escaped. I'll tell them that Jack Morrison is more dangerous than we thought, and that we need to find him before the Zealothi do. As the Earth fleet prepared to leave the system, none of them noticed the small probe that Jack had left behind. It would monitor their communications and warn him if they came looking for him again. Jack Morrison was no longer just a rogue engineer. He was a hunted man, wanted by both sides in the war. But he was also something else. He was becoming the most dangerous human in the galaxy. The Supreme Commander of the Zealothi hegemony stood before the Great War Council, his scaled face twisted with rage. The holographic displays around the chamber showed the devastating losses his forces had suffered. 32 warships destroyed. By one human, War Commander Vexthal dead. The pride of the Zealothi fleet reduced to floating wreckage. This cannot continue, the Supreme Commander declared. One human has made our entire military look weak. Our subject species are beginning to question our power. The other human colonies are starting to resist our attacks. The council members shifted uneasily. They had conquered dozens of worlds, enslaved hundreds of species, but they had never faced anything like Jack Morrison. Supreme Commander, spoke General Kethver, the military's chief strategist, we have analyzed the human's tactics. His ship uses technology we have never seen before. Some of it appears to be based on our own weapons, but modified in ways we did not think possible. Then we will overwhelm him with numbers, the Supreme Commander replied. Assemble the Grand Armada, 200 ships. Every available vessel from the core worlds, the Council gasped. The Grand Armada had not been assembled in 50 years. It represented nearly a quarter of their entire military force. Supreme Commander, General Kethver said carefully, deploying the Grand Armada will leave our territory vulnerable. If we lose those ships, we will not lose them. 200 ships against one human vessel. Even this Jack Morrison cannot stand against such numbers. Far away, in the depths of space, Jack Morrison was having the same thoughts. He had been monitoring Zealothi communications for weeks, and the intelligence he was gathering terrified him. The aliens were preparing something massive, something that would make their previous attacks look like small raids. Jack's new base was a captured Zealothi supply ship that he had christened the Defiant. It was 10 times larger than his old workshop and filled with alien technology that he was slowly learning to understand. But even with all this equipment, he knew he could not face 200 enemy ships alone. He had been sending encrypted messages to human colonies and resistance groups, sharing his weapon designs and tactical knowledge. Some had responded with enthusiasm, others with suspicion. Earth Command had branded him a traitor, and many colonists still believe that. Computer, show me the latest intelligence reports, Jack ordered, the holographic display activated, showing a map of human space. Red dots marked colonies that had been attacked by the Zealothi. Blue dots showed colonies that had received Jack's technology upgrades. Yellow dots indicated colonies that had refused his help. Analysis shows that colonies using your technology have successfully defended against Zealothi attacks in 73% of cases, the computer reported. Colonies without your technology have a survival rate of 12%? Jack nodded grimly. The numbers spoke for themselves, but politics was stronger than logic. Earth Command still refused to use his designs, claiming they were too dangerous. Admiral Cooper had convinced the Admiralty that accepting help from a rogue officer would undermine military discipline. A new message appeared on Jack's communication system. It was from Colonel Pete Williams at New Denver. Jack, this is Pete. I've been in contact with other colony commanders. We're forming a loose alliance, sharing your technology and coordinating our defenses. We call ourselves the Frontier Defense Coalition. We wanted you to know that not everyone thinks you're a traitor." Jack smiled for the first time in weeks. At least some people understood what was at stake. But he knew that even the combined colonial fleets would not be enough against the Grand Armada. He had been working on something new, something that might give him a chance against overwhelming numbers. In the deepest part of his ship, Jack had been building automated combat drones. They were small, fast, and packed with the most advanced weapons he could create. Each drone was essentially a miniature version of his ship, capable of independent combat operations. They could cloak themselves, coordinate their attacks, and adapt to enemy tactics. Jack had built 50 of them, and they were his secret weapon. Computer, run a full diagnostic on the drone systems. Old drones operational. Weapon systems charged. Cloaking devices functional, AI combat protocols active. Jack was also working on something else, something that terrified him even as he built it. He was designing a weapon that could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. It used the same energy manipulation technology as his shields, but reversed. Instead of absorbing energy, it would release it all at once in a devastating explosion. The weapon was incredibly dangerous. If something went wrong, it could destroy his own ship along with everything else in the system. But facing 200 enemy ships, Jack might not have a choice. Meanwhile, Captain Linda Hayes was dealing with her own problems. Admiral Cooper had been recalled to Earth to explain how Jack Morrison had escaped. Linda was now in temporary command of the battleship Sovereign, but she was also under investigation for her past friendship with Jack. "Captain Hayes, you have a priority message from Earth Command," her communications officer reported. "Linda, read the message with growing concern." The Admiralty wanted her to use her personal knowledge of Jack to predict his actions. They were planning a massive operation to capture or kill him, using every ship they could spare. "Ma'am, what are your orders?" asked her first officer. Linda stared at the message for a long time. She was being asked to betray the man who had saved her life at the asteroid belt. But she was also a sworn officer of the Earth Navy, bound by duty and honor. "Prepare the ship for departure. We're heading to the frontier. To hunt Morrison?" "To do our duty," Linda replied. But her heart was breaking. Jack intercepted the Earth fleet's communications as they prepared to leave. He was not surprised to see Linda's ship among them. She was a good officer, and good officers followed orders even when those orders were wrong. He recorded a message and sent it on a secure channel he knew she would recognize. "Linda, this is Jack. I know you're coming for me. I understand why, but I need you to know that what's coming will be bigger than both of us. The Zealothi are assembling their Grand Armada. 200 ships, Linda. When they come, they won't just be targeting me. They'll be targeting every human colony in the frontier." Jack paused, looking out at the stars. "I've been sharing my technology with the colonies, trying to give them a chance to defend themselves. Earth Command won't listen, but maybe you will. The weapon specifications are attached to this message. Use them or don't, but please don't let politics doom our species." He sent the message and then began preparing for what might be his final battle. The Grand Armada was still weeks away, but Jack knew he could not wait for them to come to him. He had to choose the battlefield, somewhere that would give him the best chance of survival. Jack selected a system called Haven's Rest, a failed colony that had been abandoned years ago. It was surrounded by an asteroid field and had natural, gravitational anomalies that would interfere with enemy sensors. If he was going to make his stand, this was the place. "Computer, set course for Haven's Rest, maximum speed." "Destination confirmed. Estimated arrival time, 6 days." Jack spent those 6 days making final preparations. He installed additional weapons, improved his ship's armor, and programmed his drones for maximum effectiveness. He also worked on his super weapon, knowing that it might be his only chance against such overwhelming odds. On the 5th day, he received another message from Linda. "Jack, I got your message. I've reviewed your weapon specifications. They single quotes read ... Incredible. I've forwarded them to the Colonial Defense Forces, but Earth Command won't use them. They're too proud to admit they need help from a traitor. Jack felt a mix of gratitude and sadness. Linda was risking her career to help him, but it might not be enough. There's something else, Linda's message continued. Long-range sensors have detected a massive Zelothy fleet movement. They're coming, Jack, all of them. Whatever you're planning, you'd better do it soon. Jack looked at his instruments. The Grand Armada was still days away, but when they arrived, they would find him ready. He had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, and now it was almost here. In the depths of space, 200 Zelothy warships continued their journey toward a confrontation that would determine the fate of humanity. At their head flew the massive dreadnought Devastator, the most powerful ship in the Zelothy fleet, and waiting for them in the Haven's rest system was Jack Morrison, the human who had refused to surrender. Carrying weapons that could change the course of history, the final battle was about to begin. The Grand Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Haven's rest system like a storm of metal and death. 200 Zelothy warships formed a perfect wall of destruction, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. At their center flew the Devastator, a massive dreadnought that was larger than some human space stations. Supreme Commander Zethkal stood on the bridge of the Devastator, his scaled hands gripping the command rail. He had come personally to oversee the destruction of the human who had humiliated his people. This would not be like the small battles before. This would be the end of Jack Morrison. Report, the Supreme Commander ordered. Long-range sensors detect one human vessel in the asteroid field near the 4th planet, his tactical officer announced. It appears to be alone? Zethkal smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 1 ship against 200. The human has finally lost his mind. But Jack Morrison was not insane. He was floating in the shadow of a massive asteroid, making final preparations for the battle of his life. His ship, the Defiant, no longer looked like anything humans or Zelothy had ever built. It was a fusion of technologies, covered in weapons, and armor that gleamed with alien energy. Computer, status report on all systems. Main weapons charged and ready. Drone systems operational. All 50 combat drones are deployed and awaiting orders. Super weapon core is stable, but dangerous. Recommend extreme caution during activation. Jack took a deep breath. The super weapon was his last resort, something that could destroy the entire enemy fleet but might kill him in the process. He hoped he would not need to use it. A transmission came from the Zelothy fleet. Supreme Commander Zethkal's voice filled Jack's bridge, speaking in perfect human English. Jack Morrison, you have caused great damage to the Zelothy hegemony. You have killed our warriors and destroyed our ships. Today you will pay for your crimes against our people. Jack activated his own transmitter. His response was broadcast, not just to the Zelothy fleet, but to every human colony and Earthship within 100 light-years. Supreme Commander, you came here to stop one human. You brought 200 ships because you're afraid of what one human can do. Let me show you why you should be afraid. The battle began with the Zelothy fleet moving into attack formation. They approached slowly, carefully, knowing that Jack's ship was dangerous. But they had overwhelming numbers and they thought that would be enough. Jack waited until they were deep in the asteroid field before he struck. His ship suddenly appeared from behind a massive rock-white energy beams lancing out to strike the nearest enemy vessels. 2 Zelothy cruisers exploded before they could react, but this time, Jack was not alone. His 50 combat drones emerged from hiding places throughout the asteroid field, each one no larger than a fighter, but packed with weapons that could damage ships 100 times their size. They swarmed the Zelothy formation like angry insects, striking fast and then vanishing again. Impossible, Zethkal growled. How many ships does he have? Supreme Commander, our sensors detect 51 vessels total, but they are very small, and their cloaking technology is superior to ours? Zethkal watched as his fleet tried to engage targets that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. The human had turned the asteroid field into a maze of death, using the rocks for cover while his drones struck from every direction. All ships, focus fire on the largest vessel. Ignore the small ones. The focusing on Jack's ship was like trying to catch lightning. The Defiant moved through the asteroid field as if it belonged there, slipping between rocks that should have crushed it, making turns that defied physics. Every few seconds it would emerge from cover to fire its devastating white energy beams before vanishing again. Jack's drones were doing terrible damage to the Zealoty fleet. They worked together like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks to overwhelm enemy shields. When the Zealoty tried to target them, the drones would scatter and regroup somewhere else. Computer, enemy casualties? 17 Zealoty vessels. Destroyed. Estimated enemy force reduction, 8.5%. Jack smiled grimly. He was winning, but barely. The Zealoty were learning to adapt to his tactics. They were spreading out, making it harder for him to attack multiple ships at once. Soon, they would find a way to counter his advantages. Supreme Commander Zethkal was thinking the same thing. Deploy the Hunter squadrons, small, fast ships to chase down those drones. Main fleet will continue pursuing the primary target. The Zealoty fleet split into two groups. The larger ships continued hunting Jack while smaller, faster vessels went after his drones. It was a good strategy and Jack knew it would work eventually. Computer, how long can the drones maintain current operations? At current casualty rates, approximately 18 minutes before drone effectiveness drops below combat threshold. Jack had 18 minutes to end this battle, or he would be overwhelmed. He made a decision that terrified him. It was time to use the super weapon. Computer, begin charging the super weapon core. Set timer for 15 minutes. Warning, super weapon activation will result in massive energy discharge. Probability of ship survival 37%. Understood, continue charging. Jack's ship suddenly changed tactics. Instead of hiding and striking from ambush, it began flying directly at the center of the Zealoty formation. The Defiant's weapons fired continuously, cutting through enemy ships like a sword through paper. The Zealoty poured everything they had at him. Energy beams, missiles, and exotic weapons that humans had never seen filled the space around his ship. But Jack's hybrid shields held, absorbing the energy and feeding it back into his weapons. All ships converge on the human vessel, Zethkal ordered. End this now. The entire Zealoty fleet began closing in on Jack's position. But that was exactly what he wanted. He needed them close together for the super weapon to be effective. Computer, status on super weapon? Charging at 90%. Core temperature critical. Recommend immediate evacuation. No evacuation. Continue. Charging. Jack's ship shuddered as enemy fire overwhelmed his shields. Alarms sounded throughout the bridge as systems began failing. He had maybe 2 minutes before his ship was destroyed. Super weapon charged to 100%. Ready to fire. Jack looked at the tactical display. 183 Zealoty ships surrounded him in a perfect formation. His drones had been reduced to 12 survivors, but they had done their job. The enemy fleet was exactly where he needed them. All human vessels, this is Jack. Morrison, if you're listening to this transmission, remember that we never gave up. Humanity endures. Jack activated the super weapon. The explosion that followed was visible from 3 star systems away. The super weapon did not just destroy ships. It tore apart space itself, creating a temporary rift in reality that consumed everything within. 100,000 kilometers, when the light faded, the Haven's rest system was silent. Where the Grand Armada had been, there was nothing but empty space and floating debris. 183 Zealoty warships had been erased from existence in a single moment. At the center of the destruction, one ship remained, the Defiant. Hung motionless in space, its hull scarred and blackened but intact. Jack Morrison had survived the impossible. Captain Linda Hayes arrived with the Earth fleet 6 hours later. They found Jack's ship drifting among the wreckage, its life support barely functioning. Linda led the rescue team personally, finding Jack unconscious on his bridge but alive. Is he going to make it? Linda asked the medical team. He'll live. But he's been exposed to massive amounts of exotic radiation. We don't know what the long-term effects will be. As Jack recovered in the medical bay, news of his victory spread across human space. The Zelithy Grand Armada, the most powerful fleet in known space, had been destroyed by one man. The aliens' advance stopped completely as they struggled to understand what had happened. But when Jack woke up 3 days later, he was gone. Somehow, despite being under guard in a secure medical facility, he had vanished without a trace. The Defiant was also missing from the impound bay where it had been stored. Some said Jack had died and his body had been vaporized by residual energy from the superweapon. Others claimed he had found a way to transcend normal space and existed now as pure energy. The truth was simpler and more mysterious. Jack Morrison had become something beyond human understanding. The exotic radiation from his superweapon had changed him, given him abilities that defied explanation. He could move through space without a ship, manipulate energy with his thoughts, and exist in the vacuum between stars. He was still human, but he was also something more. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, he continued his mission to protect humanity from those who would destroy it. The war with the Zelithy was over. They had lost their Grand Armada and their will to fight. Other alien species looked at what had happened and decided that humanity was too dangerous to attack. Jack Morrison had saved his species, but the cost had been everything he once was. He was a legend now, a story told to children about the man who refused to surrender. And sometimes, when human colonies were threatened by forces beyond their ability to fight, a mysterious ship would appear to defend them. The ship's pilot was never seen, but everyone knew who it was. Jack Morrison, the guardian of humanity, watching over his people from the darkness between the stars.